are going to see the putting process of Rails server. So for example, when I am going to type Rails S, it starts the server. But I type, for example, Snehal here, it says that command not found. But whenever you say that Rails S, it starts the exactly the Rails server. So what is happening behind this? Let's understand that. So the operating system, when you are going to type anything on the command line, it does not understand what it is. So what basically it is going to do, it is going to look into its own dictionary if it finds anything similar to the command that you have provided. So when you type Rails, what it does, it actually tries to find out anything if it has in the path. So when we are saying $path, it gives me the gems, right? Ruby gems, right? Then it has the Postgres, and there are a lot many things. Okay, it is again about the node, it is about Ruby, Postgres, Apple security, and a lot of things. Here we have the RB env as well. So where does this $path comes from? So basically it comes from your ZSHRC or bash RC, any kind of bash file. Okay, so when we say export path, RVM bin, so PostgreSQL 15, so all of these paths are there. So as we have seen here, this path, so it got it from here. Now it looks into the Ruby gems which has been specified by this path. And what happens here, how do we know the path? So let's say I'm saying bundle show Rails, or you can do bundle info Rails as well. So bundle info Rails is a new one. Okay, so from the Rails 7 they have added bundle info, which gives the pretty information of the same one. So this is saying that Rails is the full stack web application framework, and the home page is this, and this is the path. Similarly, if you do bundle info bundler, it also gives you the best way to manage your application's dependency and home page and everything. So this is the default gem that also it has said. Now I haven't done this. Let's try Ruby, bundle info Ruby. Okay, so it gives you concurrent Ruby zip, वगैरह. I don't know that. Let's check that later. So anyways, it has given me the path of Rails as this one. Let's go to this path. So if we go to this path, this is just giving me the readme.md, because this is the wrapper gem. So Rails 7043, it is a meta gem, it is a wrapper one. So where does this actually finds out? It is into the Rails ties. So let's go to Rails ties. So when we go here, we get a lot of things here. Let's go to exe. So first of all, what it needs to find out is the exe file. So this is the Rails executable file, where that's why it has some connection with the Rails word which we are typing on the command line. Now it says shebang user bin env ruby, which means run this file using the Ruby interpreter. Now this is telling the operating system that don't run this as a bash command, bash shell, or run this using the Ruby interpreter. Why? Because it has added the shebang. Now frozen string literal true, then it expands the file, it goes to 2 folders upwards, then it says if the file exists, git path. So git path is from where, if for example, if you have cloned the git repository, then it will check that, and it is just taking the path. Then it says require CLI. So what this is let's go to this Rails CLI. This is the CLI.rb. So it will give us into lib/Rails. Okay, let's check out what all we get in this Rails folder. So here, as we can see here, we have the CLI.rb, right? So let's see what is there in CLI.rb. When we read this is not saying the shebang, because it is the .rb file, which is the Ruby file. Again, frozen string literal. Now it says require Rails app loader. So as we have seen here, it is loading this file first. Now let's check what is this file. Okay, so cat app loader. Now in this file, this is the file. Okay, Let's check what it says. It says from the string literal, then require path name, require the Rails version, and then this is the Rails uploader model, and it has the executable here, bin Rails. Now let's see what it has in the path name. Do we have any? First of all, paths.rb is there, but I don't think anything important like, yeah, I mean obviously it is important, but nothing related to yeah, here. So this is a, I mean these are the paths for the Rails route, so nothing much from here. Let's check what is there in the uploader only. So it has taken the path names and the Rails version. Let's check if we have the Rails version file as well. So it is the version.rb. Okay, so let's check version.rb. What it says is require relative the gem version. So gem version, I don't think gem version do we have. Yes, so we have the gem version.rb, which says from here we are getting what is the version of my current Reels. So it says major version 7, minor 0, tiny 4 and pre 3. That is what my Reels version was when we saw here. So 7043. So from here we get that. Now what my uploader file is saying, if we see here, this is the executable. Okay, this is bin Reels is the executable. So my bad, sorry. So this is the bin Reels executable, and I think there is a definition here, find executable, right? So these are the executables dot find dot file if this is there. Okay, so once it is done and it finds out there, okay, and then it will read. So file dot read the content dot file dot read exe. So what this is going to do, it is going to read bin Reels. Okay, so bin Reels is what? Bin Reels is the repository, right? So bin Reels comes from okay, so this is the project file. Okay, and what we are saying is cat bin Reels. How did it get the path for this particular file? It is from the uploader executable. Okay, this one. Now it says again, sorry, it should have been the shebang. I have edited that file, my bad. So but it is a shebang, and it says that run this file as in Ruby interpreter, because it is not a Ruby file. It is not with the .rb extension, right? So that's why it is the operating system to run this file as in Ruby interpreter. Now it has the app path. So app path, it is going to what? File.expand path, config application, and the directory, the root directory. So app path is basically nothing but your application.rb. Okay, now it says require relative config boot. So it is require relative, so it is going to find out the file in the current repository only. So let's see cat config / boot.rb. Okay, so in the boot.rb, what we see here is the environment variable, bundle, gem file, and file.expand path of gem file. So what this is basically going to do, here it is. So till now, till this point, so Ruby was running the bin Rails, correct? So till this point it was running only this one. Now once we go here as a config boot, now it has started running the Ruby file. Okay, so when we are saying dollar load path here till this point, so even if we do right now, so dollar load path, okay, I'll show you that later. But so one we have seen is a path, right? So this is the path variable which has all the OS, I mean all the locations, or we can say as the paths of the installations and everything that we have at the bash script. Okay, but then this load path has the all the locations. Again, it contains the path of all the Ruby libraries or the paths. But then till this time it had run only this much. When we come to bundler setup, till this point it had only the Ruby standard libraries. Till this point it did not know what kind of Rails and what kind of gem files are there. So Ruby has no idea where the Rails or the active records, etc., all of that lives. but bundler is the default gem as we have seen just before. I'll again show you. Bundle show or info, sorry, bundler, right? So it says it is the default gem, right? As it is a default gem, that's why it gets loaded. So bundler slash setup.rb, okay, this is the first. So when we are seeing bundler slash this one, so it gets loaded. What gets loaded? Setup.rb. Okay, now it checks the environment of bundle gem file, and it is going to read your gem file, it is going to read the gem file.log, and it is going to build the dependency graphs. So due to the environment bundle, like this variable which is giving us the location of the gem file, this tells the bundler that which project is actually running, because you can have multiple projects, right? How does it know which project location it is there? So it gets the location from this variable which we are specifying here. Now apart from this, what it is going to do, now it has read the gem file.log, build the dependency graphs. Now it is also going to do the, it is also going to activate the gems. What does that mean? For every gem which is there in the gem file.log, it is going to locate the gems on the disk. What do we mean by that? So we have the all of these gems on the gem file. Let's look at that. So if I say bundle rails this, and we go to this this path, okay, so it has all these gems which I was using in my current project. Okay, so everything is there. So ably, action cable, action mail, active record, active model, active job, everything is there. So this is the physical location of all of these gems which are installed on my machine. So this bundler, it is going to locate each gem in the disk. So what happens here, so whenever we have the gemfile.log, whatever the version, so this has come with the version as well. If we see any of, for example, zip, so this is the version is 0.3, right? So we will also see what is the gem file. Let's look at that actually first. Anyways, okay, okay, this is the gem file. If we see, zip is 0.3, okay, this version is 0.3, and if we check any other version, for example Ably is 127, so you'll see the folder name with this version resolution 127. so whatever the version that has been specified in the gemfile.log, it wins. Version resolution happens here. So if you have different versions, for example, if you have in the gem file you have specified rail 6 and rail 7, so whatever the version that had been already specified in the gemfile.log, that is the win. Okay, so that's the thing. Earlier we said about the load paths. So if we go to rails, okay, rail C, let's see what is there in the load paths now. Okay, load path. Okay, so what we see here is all the paths, every path of the gem. Take anything, for example, it is the PG hero gem, this is the path in the gems, then we have PG hero, and then app helpers. So this is the helpers path, and if we see here, this is /lib. Okay, so what we have at the end is the /lib for all of these gems. So why it is there? So when bundler activates the gem, for every gem in the gemfile.log, it has already located the gem on the disk, but it also adds /lib. Okay, it also adds the /lib directory to the load path. Why? Because, for example, your path location is this, right? Till this point, this is the path location. So what bundler does to the load path, it adds upshift meaning it is going to add at the, so all of this path and lib. So what this is actually going to do, so it is going to add the lib at the lib / suppose you have the active record, then it is going to do this active record.rb. So your path here it looks like this, that it is lib ruby 2.7 or ruby site and all, but it adds in the it adds lib at the first. Why? Because ruby never loads from the root, it only loads from the lib file. Therefore bundler adds only the slash lib, not the entire one. So this is one thing that it does. Then bundler also enforces the version locking. Now bundler now does the monkey patching. So in ruby gems, so only the locked versions can be activated. So whatever there are in the gem file.lock, those only can be activated. So if you're trying to load the different version, it raises the error. So why this must happen before even starting the rails? So we haven't loaded the rails application, we are just at where we are just at this point, bundler setup, okay, which is setting the gems. Because once a gem is activated, your constants are loaded, right? The files are in a memory. So once they are there and later you find out any kind of conflict, it cannot unload it. Therefore bundler forces the locking before any gem code can run. Okay, that's why bundler setup, it is early in the boot. And at the end of bundler setup, what we have is load path, it is fully populated, then all gems are activated, versions are locked, and required, it is correctly mapped. Now how does rails know which projects rails to execute? For example, you have different rails projects in your system. Okay, how does it know which project to run when we are saying rails is? So it doesn't actually know. So this is the shell. When we had seen the rails executable here somewhere, okay, so this is the, not this one actually, okay, no, not this one. So when we had this rails 7043, and then we had the somewhere we had found that, no, not even in rails 70, we have in the rails ties we had seen the rails executable. This is the shell. So shell launches the generic rails executable, and bundler then inspects the current working directly as we have seen right now, and loads that project's gem file, activates the locked rails version, and rewires the load path. So all rails requires to that project's gems. Okay, we have seen that how the version is unlocked, it is in the path name. Now in the next step here, it is the boot snap. So this is only for the caching. So whenever like whenever it is the boot time, so ruby, this is just the ruby performance library that reduces the application boot time by caching things. How ruby normally recalculates every time it starts. Okay, what it calculates, the load path and everything. So it does not change the, so basically boot snap setup, it does not change the behavior, but it just speeds up at this start. It runs before the rails load or your application code, but after the bundler is set up, right? So on every boot, ruby repeatedly does the like searches the load path for every require, then passes the ruby files, resolves the gem paths. But then with boot snap setup, it monkey patches the ruby integrals and it remembers the path. That's why your path lookup becomes the big O of 1. So the complexity becomes big O of 1 because it already has the path. And then it stores the compiled bytecode for the .rb files. Also, it Rails loads so many YAML files, right? For example, database.yaml credentials. It caches all of these parsed results. Then these results are again stored in the temp cache bootsnap. So where these caches are, where is this everything is stored? It is stored in your temp. This is your temp file. Here you have the cache. In cache you have this bootsnap, and here compile cache and compile cache. This is all like, this is not the readable files, but everything is stored here. It is cached here. Okay, so what will happen if I remove this? Your app will still run, there is no problem, but then the cold boot times, like for the Rails server, Rails console, or Rails, that will become slower. That is the only point. Okay, so now we have seen the boot.rb. Now let's come back to the Rails executable file. We haven't yet finished the Rails executable. Okay, now what we have here is the require Rails command. Okay, so till now we have only seen this boot file, which, let's do the recap. It has done the booting and my bad. So which has done the bundler setup and the boot snap. Now we come back here, it has the app file. So app path, basically I had changed this one, so it is generally here. Okay, So this is the app path, and even if we change this, it will work. It doesn't matter. So let's see what is there in the Rails command. Rails commands. So this is not command, it is commands. Okay. So let's see what we have in the Rails commands. So I think I will go to, this is server.rb, not this one. Okay, not even this one. Okay, this one. So we are here. Let's check what is there in the commands.rb. So in commands.rb, if we see, first of all, it is running command. So let's go to command.rb. Okay, and apart from this, what it has is the aliases for all of the acronyms that we use, that is the G, C, D, S, destroy, console, server. So how does it know that when we are saying S belongs to server? Okay, so let's go here, so which is the command.rb. In the command.rb, so it has the active support, and it it is require active support and the other ones. Then it checks the Rails environment. Okay, okay, it is checking the engine root and the app path. Fine. Then commands in usage, it checks. Okay, so let's copy this file. Okay, command.rb, and if we check here, so the file lookup is star command.rb. Okay, and it comes from the lookup paths. Lookup paths is Rails commands and this commands. So if we see here, there are some common commands in uses, which is the generate, console, server. These are the commands that we use. So this is the entire, like, how these commands and path and everything, but let's look at only this particular code. So what it is saying, the path directory is Rails commands, and then this command.rb. So let's check. So Rails, so we have this commands folder, correct? And what it says again, what are we saying is the Rails S, so S belongs to server. So that's why let's go to the server, because this is the command. Okay, this is the command that we want to go, and this is server. In server, what we have is the server command.rb, and this is the exact file that it is looking at. So let's check what is there in server command.rb. So in server command, it is a very big file. Let's check what is there. Better is to copy this file. I had copied this, but I can't find it right now. That's why I'll copy this again, so that you can also go through it while I'm copying it. So it has server.pid, and there are some paths added. Okay, so in this particular file, it's a very big file. We will not go through the entire file, but yes, this is the Ruby file. Okay, so this is the Rails server. Okay, what it is doing, Rails command, server command, initialized with some arguments, and it is going to the server options. Now in server options, okay, these are the new server, if it is servable and wagara wagara, and there are a lot of things. So it has set the environment, started with the temporary directories, set up the div caching, and so many things here. Okay, this is private. Now let's go to the server command, because this is what here it is, right? So these are the, in this one we have the server options. If we check, so this is the server command model, this is the command model. So till this time, what we, so basically internally what it is doing is Rails command dot invoke. What it will do, this is the server command, right? So if we check here, this is the perform, right? In perform, it is saying real server dot new, this is the object, and here it is said that server dot start. Okay, this is where your server Rails has actually started to load, and it has actually started. Okay, so what is this server is Rails Rails server. Okay, Rails colon server, and let's check if we have the start definition. This is the start definition, right? From where it has started. So this start method has been called from this commands module. That's when the Rails S has got invoked. But what has happened till now? Boot.rb, so bundler setup is done, bootstrap setup is done, and till this time you have the application.rb. It is just loaded in the app path. It is just the file location. It has not done anything, and booting is done. So boot.rb has been executed, and we have gone to the commands.rb, and from there we have invoked the server. So what happens now? So in the this is server command.rb, and when we are saying perform, and here it says that Rails application.root. So how does it know what is the root? So when we were here at the command.rb, so this is the definition of root, and it says path name dot new file dot expand path of app path. And what is the app path? App path, we have defined it here, which is the application.rb. That's how it gets the it goes to the application.rb, and then it is invoked from the command.rb and the server command and everything. From there we go to application.rb. Now this is how we have come to the application.rb of this particular project. Now this required app path is executable inside the server command perform, and this is the precise moment when Rails switches from the CLI mode to the app mode, correct? So it is where the here, correct? I think app path is, yeah, it is there. Okay, so when we are here in the application.rb, so generally I cannot see here, but what we have here is the require Rails slash all. So Rails slash all, it is going to load all the active support, active record, action controller, and everything, but it has still not initiated the app yet. Okay, so here for example, this is my module branch scope, and this is the class application which has been inherited by the Rails application. Now this is very, very important, as this application has been inherited from the Rails application. By subclassing the Rails application, what it gets Rails.application. Let's write it here. Rails.application. Rails.application it gets. Then it gets the Rails.root. Then it gets Rails.configurations. Correct? It is configuration, but let's write it here. So it gets the Rails.configurations. It gets the autoloaders. Okay. Then it also gets the load path. Now it has the load path. Okay, so load path is also gets prepended here, then that's why. And before, there are multiple configuration hooks as well. So if you have any before configuration hooks, they also get executed. That is what happens when we are subclassing this. Okay,